In 1 minute we shall begin. Just 30 more seconds. Are you ready? I hope so.
What is going on? Welcome into the channel. I am Matt O'Leary, joined with the man behind the curtain who was just doing some talking there, Mr. Jeremy Jets Chaos. How's it going, good sir?
It is going well. Are you ready, Matt?
I absolutely am ready, and it's gonna be a fun one today. We're always hanging out on Wednesdays. If you're just popping in, make sure to leave a like on the screen, subscribe to the channel here so you can get in on the conversation. We'll get through your comments on the live chat, and we have a lot of things that we wanted to get into. We're going to start the conversation with a report that came out earlier today that the Jets are one of three teams, included with the 49ers and the Vikings as well, who are rumored to be taking a look at the trade market at the wide receiver spot. What was your initial reaction when you heard this?
Oh boy, that even there that they feel the same way we do. There's even in a year where we're not like trying to get the final piece to be a Super Bowl contender, even in a year where we're just trying to grow and find an identity, we still if it's true, I always say if I don't trust the media to completely, but if it's true, it's kind of like oh man, they're where we are, like they're realizing it, like because a lot of the reports we hear is no one, it's not just Fields, but that no one's getting open aside from Garrett. Like that's been a theme, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what did you expect? I mean, we look at Reynolds, but it was kind of like oh boy, like if it's true, oh my God, here we go.
Yeah, that not really surprising, right? It's not like they came out and were like, oh, the Jets are in the market for looking to trade for a running back. Like everyone in the world knew that the Jets like their running back room. They have multiple guys in Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and on it goes. But one of the biggest criticisms from the fans this offseason, I think, has been that they haven't really done enough at the wide receiver spot. And I'm going to be honest with you. Not that I disagree with the thought of that they should add more to the wide receiver room. I personally just didn't think that we would get to this point. I thought the Jets would go and look at it as, you have Garrett Wilson, who's the number one. We think Josh Reynolds can do enough like he did 2 years ago in Detroit, where he can be a functional wide receiver too. And we're going to use the running backs and the tight ends so much that it's not going to really matter if Reynolds is, fourth or fifth in receiving targets as our wide receiver too. But this indicates, as you said, if true, that the Jets do think this is an issue. And looking at the depth at the position, it's not great.
Yeah, the depth is not great. And for those of you in the chat that's saying, what do you mean Garrett's not getting any catches? Well, that's what I mean. When I say he's getting open, I mean they're double, like in situations where you don't double team him. But the reality is they're going to key on him so that we need other receivers to get open. And I think the reason that Garrett's not getting a lot of catches in practice is probably because that's not what we're working on, because we know that Garrett's going to get his catches unless we don't give him the protection. Like if we don't have any other weapon on the other side that they're afraid of and they double cover him, then yeah, he's not going to get any catches. But, that's the oh boy. Like, we're not putting, like, that's the concern. Like, yeah, we're not looking for a needle mover that's gonna, like, thinking, like, I mean, I hope, like, if like the mindset of to win the Super Bowl, but there's still an argument of we need to function. And if you don't have a receiver to protect Garrett Wilson, then you allow the other team to take him out of the game. And you need somebody who's going to keep the defense honest and not allow that to happen.
Right. And I think that's the important thing. Like, I totally understand that this is, a year where the Jets, they're not Super Bowl contenders. That's not where they are in their roster building. It's, setting up for a bit of a transition this year. At the same time, I think there is a world where you can go out and acquire the right wide receiver where, it's not a rental. For instance, Devontae Adams at the end of next year, or at the end of last year, excuse me, he was at the end of his career, and like it only ended up being half a season. But like, I see Pat in the comment section, which you could pull up, saying, I would love to add Alec Pierce. What would his trade compensation be? Let's go Jets. That makes a lot more sense because he's going into the final year of his rookie contract. He's 25 years old. If you were to trade for him and extend him, not that he would be getting Garrett Wilson money. That's not the kind of player that he is. He would be getting, wide receiver 2 or 3 money. Then you have another young wide receiver that you can pair with Garrett Wilson for, this year and beyond, whether that's for Justin Fields or for, a young quarterback that you acquire next year.
Yeah. And you just said the key words too about acquire quarterback next year. So because I knew the first thing that was going to come up is get Terry, scary Terry. Okay. Look, I mean,
awesome.
Nobody's questioning that Terry's not a great wide receiver, right? That we would love to have, but here's a dose of reality, right? Let's say we like Washington wants to trade with us. Okay, there's no question. Forget about 27. That there's no question at all in my mind, and I don't think anybody would argue this. That if a team was to trade for Terry, they're giving up their first round pick in next year's draft. Can we agree on that? Like, there's no way they're parting with him without a first round pick. If that's not true, fine, get Terry if you can. All right. I don't know where you're going to get the money to pay him, but fine. If you want to give a first round pick for Terry, you're talking about we're giving a first round pick for a guy who's going to be a number 2 wide receiver on a team with a quarterback that's a running team that barely goes through a progression to get to a number 2 receiver. Okay. So, and here's the real cost to me. What you're saying is when you say trade for Terry, you give away that first round pick. Get used to Justin Fields, because how are you getting a quarterback next year's draft?
Right. A little bit different if we're talking the caliber of a Terry McLaurin, or like I see Romeo Dobbs in the chat. Pat mentioned Alec Pierce, who, very unique player. He points out later, 34 catches and had nearly 900 yards. The definition of a deep threat if he's averaging over 20 yards a catch, which is just nuts. But we're looking at a day 3 pick, maybe a 4th round, 5th round pick for a wide receiver traded at this point for a guy who would be considered a, more prototypical wide receiver too. McLaurin's
I think that's the point, right? Like, you're not going to see us if we did trade for a wide receiver. It's not going to be this giant splash needle moving thing. It's not, because like a Terry, because we don't have the draft capital to trade for that. We do, but like then we're handcuffing ourselves to Justin Fields. You're gonna wait till 27 to draft a quarterback? Like, it's just not gonna happen. So I think that's what we're talking about. And most people, I'm very glad and relieved in the chat, are saying that and doing that. Like, I like that what we're reading in the chat right now is they're naming guys that are not trade a first round pick, pay $30 million, but they're realizing we just need someone opposite of Garrett that can scare the other team a little. That if you leave them just single coverage because you're keying on Garrett Wilson, they're going to cause problems for you.
All right. Nick Shine chimes in on the conversation. What's going on, my friend? 29-year-old wide receiver who you'd have to give a premium pick for, then give him a contract similar to Garrett Wilson. This name shouldn't be discussed by the fans. Be realistic.
Yeah. It's double pay. It's double paying. That's why it doesn't work. You know, like for a team like the Rams that went out and got some stars right when they were right to win the Super Bowl, fine. But when you're building a team, it doesn't work because you're double paying. You're gonna trade for this guy, lose a number 1 pick. Now you have no way to get a real quarterback in a draft that's supposed to have a few good ones, and you're gonna have to pay him $30 million a year. So you're giving up a giant portion of your salary cap. So now how are you going to keep Jermaine and all these other guys that we're going to want to keep next year and extend, just like we did Garrett and Sauce? You're double paying. The way to solve these problems is to draft well, is to find these players yourself. In the meantime, Romeo Dobbs, Alec Pierce, fine. Like that's what you have to do. And then if we do end up having to draft a quarterback, which is probably most likely, is there a wide receiver? Can we strike gold in the second round with a wide receiver? Or, or are we going to have to wait till 27 until we get another true WR1 type of guy to complement Garrett Wilson? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good call out too. It might be something that they would have to wait on, right? But that's the thing. I don't want to right now give up a pick where I'm thinking, man, this might really significantly impact our chances of moving up for a quarterback, because that's my head is at right now. Most likely outcome, obviously ideal, would be that Justin Fields is just awesome, because then you don't have to worry about trying to find another quarterback. But I think the Jets will be a middle of the road team. And if they want to make an aggressive play for a quarterback in, what projects to be a pretty good quarterback class, you might have to move up a little bit. And that's going to take obviously your first round pick. It's going to take your second round pick. It might take even more, future capital on top of it, depending on how far you're looking to jump up. So that's the thing that would scare me about a big move. But there's no, like, at the same time, I don't think we should be pussyfooting around and going, I don't want to give up a 5th round pick, for a 25-year-old receiver who could come in and be a wide receiver too, and pay him, just throwing numbers out there, $12 to $15 million a year to serve that purpose.
Yeah. And I understand there was anger also from this news, and I get it. There was like, well, you're just figuring that out now. Like a lot of fans already had it figured out in their mind. Like, we don't have a WR2. Why are they figuring out now? And the only thing I could respond to is it is a little bit of I wonder what they were thinking. We all kind of knew that Reynolds is a WR4, WR5 fight to make the roster type veteran, not a WR2. We all knew that, Corley had Malachi Corley had a big question mark. As much as I love Arian Smith and think he's going to have a role that he might even be able to contribute, we know he's not ready to be WR2 most likely. Why didn't they know this? Like, why are we looking now? I think maybe the Allen Lazard injury, maybe in their mind Lazard was the WR2, and maybe that injury is a little bit more serious than we think, or maybe they just think it'll be a while before he gets back on track. And I'm not waving the flag for Lazard. I'm just saying maybe in their minds he was going to be the guy for now, the temporary, 1 year we're going to just live it out with this guy, and before his injury last year, let's be honest, he wasn't as bad as he was 2 years ago. Like a lot, there's a lot of not letting it go or forgiving. He's not the ideal WR2, but I'm wondering if his injury is something to do with this. And then I will say, on the positive note, we've had management go into seasons where they don't see that they messed up and didn't get a WR2, and we just go into the season without trying anything. So if we do go out and acquire somebody to fill that role, you could say, oh, what took so long? But at least they acted on it, because we've had management that has done nothing in the past.
Just double and triple down on their own decisions. So I'm totally good with that. Lou chimes in with a super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Says, Matt, do you guys still have tickets for sale for your tailgate September 7th? If so, do I reach out to? What lot will you guys be in? Okay, so here's what you do. The game tickets, so like if you wanted to come and sit with us, those are sold out. But if you have a ticket already and just want to go to the tailgate, go to tailgatejoe.com. That's where we always tailgate with him. And he has the tickets on sale for just tailgate only. We didn't have on our website a tailgate only package. So tailgatejoe.com, the week 1 tailgate. I believe it's lot E.
I think it's
yeah.
Unless it moved, I don't think it moved.
Yeah, E26 is where we will be. Usually what we do, that's like the premium parking. So we usually park in like lot J and then just walk over to E26. It's the one like right across from lot J. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, Jeremy. And you're going to be in town for that one too.
I'm going to be there, man. I'm super excited. It's always that it's like our one time a year we get together and see each other in person. It's always really a cool thing.
It's a blast. That's for sure.
Trying to see what this was. I saw some news come up. I want to make sure it's not us.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't notice.
Jets involved in the trade. The Browns have agreed to trade defensive tackle Jowon Briggs and a 2026 7th round pick to the Jets in exchange for a 26 6th round pick. So we swap picks. We gave our 6th, and we're getting a 7th back in return, and we're picking up Jowon Briggs. I'm going to be very honest now. I don't know.
All right, we got some breaking news on the channel. I don't know a ton about him, but we'll pull up some numbers that we can talk about, right? So it's a pick swap. They give up a 6th this year. They get a 7th in return and a player at a position that, honestly, Jeremy, needs a lot of work because they have Quinnen, who obviously we love. Byron Cowart was projected to be the starter next to him. He's been hurt, and it's been relatively quiet, honestly, at that position.
Yeah, we need to get information on Jowon Briggs. I mean, obviously, there's a limit to Briggs. How good could he be? And I'm only saying that on if it only took swapping a 6th and a 7th. I'm not thinking he's a proven guy, but maybe they see something in him. Maybe he's really a strong run defending defensive tackle, because that's what we really need, right? An early down defensive tackle. I think LT3 is going to fit very nicely, in the passing down situations. So we're going to have to just see, we'll learn about this guy. I never heard of him. I don't know him. I don't know him as a prospect out of college. I don't know the name at all.
He was a 7th round pick from a year ago, and played limited reps in Cleveland last year, but some okay numbers. I'm pulling it up right now off the PFF. So he played in 6 games for them at the end of the year, 133 snaps. Look, decent numbers against the run.
That's it.
Yeah, four pressures. He's not going to give you much as a pass rusher, it looks like, but 6'2", 297 pounds. You have him under contract for the next 3 years. It was a weak position for them. Like, this is a kind of move that I'm good with, right? Like, you move down around and get someone who you have to imagine is going to make this roster, right? And at a position of need here.
Look, I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like they see that, like, this management. What's different than the past is we were always blown away by, like, it felt like that we were so off base with them. I mean, but I think if you talk to Frankie or Dom C, or you talk to Green Bean, right? All of us across the board, Nick, we all kind of felt, where's the run stopping defensive tackle? We all I think a lot of us felt unsatisfied with what was done. We thought it was going to be this kid from Kansas City. It wasn't, right? He hasn't impressed anybody in camp. And I think we just saw them. We know exactly what they just did. They specifically are trying to fill the defensive tackle position in early down run situations.
Yeah, without a doubt, right? Like, that seems to be his calling card. Oh, this is a pretty nice play against the run that I could pull this up. Here, can I switch this tab? Yeah, look at this play in the preseason of him getting off his block and making a play in the run game. So that was last year, or maybe it was this year.
Okay. Very nice. Nice athleticism there, because look, he threw all his body weight. Was down, and yeah, that was a quick shift of his body weight to get moving again. That's nice.
Right. So, like, I don't think we're going to be looking at this guy and go like, wow, he played 70% of snaps and had 5 sacks this year. But I think one of my biggest concerns with the Jets defense is how they were going to be against the run. And that was a big issue for this team last year. They weren't good at all against the run last year. And hopefully this is someone who, again, could play on early downs and have an impact there.
Yeah. And there are a bunch of things that could help our run defense too. I think everybody, like, yes, getting this guy, if he's a good run defender and he's going to play that role, that's really good and that's really helpful. That wasn't the only issue, obviously, with our run defense, right? People have to remember, Jermaine Johnson, when we did the Hassan Reddick thing, we got rid of JFM, a move that just infuriated me. And then in his place, Jermaine Johnson gets hurt, and now we're short on edge, and we don't have guys that are sealing the edge well. So a lot of those running plays were, had to do with that as well, with our edge play. So getting Jermaine Johnson back is a nice, little punch there too. That's really going to help us. And then more linebacker blitzing, linebackers coming up into the box, things like that. And the scheme might help, but it feels like getting this guy, at least that we know they're committing to the importance of stopping the run, something that seems to, for some foreign reason, exactly a year ago, our old coaching staff completely abandoned, like the idea that you have to be able to stop the run.
Yeah, and Calzone Moto chimes in with some more details. 6'1", 313, 9/1/2001 birthday. He's 23. He'll turn 24. He went to Cincinnati, which he played one. That means he played 1 year with Sauce Gardner there at Cincinnati in 2021, because obviously Gardner came out the next year. So some overlap there. And then, like Nick Shine just says right underneath it, you draft run stuffers late. Hopefully he's that guy. Exactly. We were all begging the Jets to do that in this draft, right?
It's the green bean fatty, right? He says, just get me a fatty in the late rounds. And, and as long as they're in that role, it makes sense. It's the perfect kind of thing. It's like, that's the role, right? They're in there to come in and passing and running situations and stuff the run. That's all we're asking to do. And, and then I believe we have our guy in LT3. I think in, past situations, 2-minute drills, the other team has the ball. End of the game, other team has the ball and is, in shotgun because they're behind. Hopefully that'll happen, that another team is behind us. That's when LT3 is going to be in there and get his chance to pursue the quarterback. And I think people, the more he plays and the more reps he gets, the more Jet fans are going to start to love this guy, because LT3, yes, undrafted free agent, shocking. I mean, this was a second, third round pick. Nobody would have blinked an eye if he was if he was drafted in the third round, maybe second round, end of second round, anytime, anywhere in the third rounds, LT3 would have been drafted. Nobody would have blinked an eye.
And for LT3, you were talking about his pass rushing ability, and he is a pass rushing interior defensive lineman by nature. I didn't think he played bad against the Giants, though, against the run in particular. PFF had him at a 60.7 run defense grade, but there was a play in that game where he got credited with a stop, and I remember going, oh, okay, Leonard Taylor showing a little something in the run game. If he could do that more consistently, that's going to get him on the football field. You know what
Nick Shine would call that? I could see him the way he'd say it. Coaching. It's called coaching. Like we want to see players develop and evolve. It shouldn't be that a guy is labeled one way and that's who he is for the rest of his career. When you have a guy out of college, it's not too late to coach them. He's obviously a very good athlete. He's very explosive. That's why he's good at pass rush. Good coaches can help develop a young player like that. It might not make him a top-notch run stuffer, but you can get him to maybe a point of average to where he could be an every down player one day. That's called player development. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what you're right. That's exactly what you want to see. And there's confidence, especially in this staff. And you have, a defensive minded head coach and Glenn and a veteran defensive coordinator and Steve Wilkes. And you're hoping that he'd be able to get the most out of these guys. And, with the addition that the Jets just made in adding Jowon Briggs, you're hoping that he can serve, a purpose. Again, none of us are getting on here today and saying this is the move to put the Jets over the top. This guy's going to be an elite player. But I don't know. Again, can you play on early downs? Can you help stop the run? Because there wasn't anyone here that could do that. I know we were talking beforehand about getting into maybe some things that we weren't expecting at training camp. One of those for me was going to be Derek Nadi. And I think the Jets signed him to be that run stopping interior defensive lineman. And he's really done practically nothing during training camp or the preseason. I don't know if his roster spot is guaranteed. I'd almost at this point be surprised if he makes the team. But this addition to me really seals his fate. I don't think he's making it. And I think the Jets saw that this could potentially be an issue for them.
Something must have happened where he just fell off the world, because starting for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like, that's a pretty good thing to have on your resume. You might not have been one of the stars. You might have been one of their weaker roster starters, but it's still, he started, and his job was to be a stuffer, right? So you'd think he could do that and do that well. I thought for sure. I said, okay, there's our early down guy. We're going to be good. He's not a star, but you can't have an all-pro player in every position. Some guys on your team are going to be role players. So yeah, man, didn't hear his name once, heard nothing about him, heard about this other guy who ended up getting hurt, Cowart, right out of nowhere, started hearing his name more than Nadi's. That was weird. And I agree with you. This trade probably signifies the end of any chance he had of making the roster.
Yeah. And, maybe it was just an age thing, because earlier at his, in Kansas City in his career, I thought he did that well. Took a little bit of a step back, last year. And then this year, really not making all too much noise. So, we were on the conversation of trades and potentially looking at wide receiver. Maybe they still do. It's not like they lost a draft pick. They just moved back around. Maybe they look to do some other kind of either pick swap or, 4th or 5th round pick kind of thing for a receiver at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're showing that they're active. They're showing they're willing to do something. And so far, it's been just very sensible, like, don't kill the future type moves, right? Like, the whole offseason has been careful. Just changing we needed the change. So they started at the back end of the roster, and they did contracts that warrant handcuffs for a long time. They didn't go out and chase the big name. It's a retooling year. It's probably going to go into next year. I think depending on how this year goes, I always said it was going to be at least a minimum of 2 off seasons to have any chance to get where we really want to be, to call ourselves a team that can compete. And of course, that all hinges on quarterback. So they're doing a nice job of filling in what they need to do to just be functional this year, because you can't evaluate players if you don't put a functional team out there. You have to have guys that are at least functional so you can evaluate everyone as a whole, right? So I think that's why you need a wide receiver too. It's hard to really say that we gave the offense a fair chance if you're not going to put a true WR2 out there.
Yeah. We have another question from Ryan, who's a member of the channel. Thank you, Ryan. Says, does this kick Leonard Taylor off the 53-man roster? I don't think so, because like we were just saying, they don't really play the same kind of role.
Yeah, it's a completely different role. I mean, he would complement a Leonard Taylor. Like, they're a complement. Like, he'd be in 1st and 2nd down. Now it's 3rd and 9. If you have time to do a substitution, that's where you're going to see LC3 come in. So they're actually going to share the position. It's definitely Nadi that is the direct, that's the guy you're looking at. That's literally was supposed to be that 1st, 2nd down guy.
Yeah, and especially with Byron Cowart banged up, this is something that I think was necessary. I talked about, looking at the waiver wire. This is a similar kind of move, a late day 3 pick swap, and the Jets get a guy in here. So we talked about one of my examples of Derek Nadi as a player who I think, coming into camp or even really going further back to OTAs, I thought he would be the one technically starting next to Quinnen Williams because he would play on early downs and be the run stopping guy. And now I don't really think he has much of a chance to make the roster. So I'll flip it to you. Is there something from camp that has surprised you either positively or negatively?
Yes. Like from the beginning of camp to now, a surprise for me was when I first heard before camp even started that Malachi Corley wasn't guaranteed a spot on the roster, or he's going to be fighting for a spot on the roster, I didn't really believe that. I honestly, I just thought, no way. We traded up to get him. Yeah, we actually gave up real assets during that draft and had 2 picks go backwards to get this guy, to move up to get him. Obviously, they were worried someone else would take him. They claim he was like the number 4 WR on their board overall. I loved him at the Senior Bowl. I thought he was a great prospect. How could this be that he's not going to make the roster? And now, I'm not that stubborn, or, like I don't have that much of a wall. I think Malachi Corley is gone. Like, I would say I don't think there's very much chance that he makes the roster. And from the beginning of camp to now, that's a surprise to me.
Have you ran that one by your boy Green Bean? Because we spent, I'm going to say, about 45 minutes last night talking Malachi Corley and Andrew Beck.
He did the same thing with Mims. He gets attached to a player and doesn't, Green Bean's my guy. I love him.
Love him to death.
When he loves a player, man, when he loves a player. Do you know that Green Bean yelled at me because I said I was pissed off at Corley last year when he made some comments to the media that he wasn't embarrassed about the drop ball. I was willing to let it go that he dropped that ball. We won the game anyway. Whatever. He'll never do it again. Fine. But when he went to the media and said, "No, I'm not embarrassed," I said, well, this guy has a shitty attitude. That's how I interpret that. And Green Bean said, why? He shouldn't be embarrassed. He should be proud. He learned. And I'm like, there's no way if it was a player that Green Bean didn't like, that would be his take. Like if that would have been Ty Johnson, a guy that he hated, he would not have said and defended that. Like when you drop a football on purpose to be a showboat and on your first touchdown, your first touch in your career, and you drop it too soon, if you don't feel embarrassed from that, something is definitely wrong with you.
Yeah, it's not clicking. And that showed a little bit of immaturity, which apparently was an issue for the Jets staff last year. Whenever you heard, I'm not saying that Jeff Ulbrich was a good head coach. He wasn't. He was clearly in over his head. But when he was asked a ton about Malachi Corley, he kept bringing up that word maturity, and he's not ready yet. And this is a new staff, right? A different GM, not that they drafted him, Aaron Glenn in here, different head coach. And for whatever reason, he's still not getting on the field. We didn't see him until the fourth quarter of the second preseason game. To me, that there's like 8 wide receivers in front of him right now on the depth chart, it feels like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's why I think he's not going to make the roster. When I say it, it's not like from some awesome analysis, like the scientific thing of that I'm saying. No, I'm saying I don't think he's going to make the roster because he's watched the preseason games. He's not in the rotation of the guys who are fighting for jobs. Like if he was on the bubble to even make the roster, right? Like you'd see a lot of them. And if he was like your WR5 or WR6, and he already had his roster spot, you'd see a lot of them. Because the other guys that might be our WR4-5s, you see a lot of them, right? Why is Smith playing so much, right? Why is Aaron Smith playing so much? I mean, where is Malachi Corley? Why isn't he playing more? I think it's because they don't like him. They're looking at everybody else and want to know, that they're serious about making the roster.
And that was one of the things that I mentioned too. Like this new staff, they don't have any ties to any of these players that were drafted by the old regime, right? Like they can go, if they cut a 3rd round pick a year later, they can go, we didn't draft him. And if we were in that spot, we wouldn't have done that. Right. Like, and it stinks from the fan side, especially, we follow the draft so closely. The thought of losing a 3rd round pick a year later and cutting him like that. I understand why it doesn't sit right with people, but if the guy can't play, he can't play, Jeremy. Like, I don't know what we're supposed to do.
You got to be able to walk away from your mistakes. As a matter of fact, the longer you hang on to your mistakes, the worse you make the mistake. So what are you going to do? Let Skinner walk? Put him on the practice squad? He gets scooped up by another team and ends up becoming a good wide receiver? Like, you can't waste the roster spot on him because, he was a 3rd round pick. I hate that. It's like, and I hope that they don't do that. I hope that this management coaching staff, I hope it proves to be a staff that stands by their word of you earn your spot. You don't get anything handed to you. And if he's not, the only way he's going to make the roster, when I say there's a chance, maybe he will make the roster, the only way we could be misreading this is they're not worried about it because he's already on the roster. The complete opposite. They know he's secure and that we don't have to play him that much. He's a physical guy. We don't want to bang him up, save it for the season, or surprise the other team, which is ridiculous and very unlikely. So, yeah, I mean, but we have to be able to walk away from our mistakes. Like, you can't hold on to a guy because of when he was picked. Once you know he's not the guy, he's not the guy. Goodbye. Yeah,
right. Like, you're only making it worse by doubling down on it. And if, they're not here, but if Robert Saleh was still here, if, Joe Douglas was still here, probably a different story because he's going, well, I just took this guy in the 3rd round. I got to try to make it work. And this staff's like, not my guy. In fact, we like Arian Smith, who we took in the 4th round a lot more. And, he has gotten some reps with the ones. He's not, normally running with the ones, but he's probably closer to their 4th or 5th receiver right now than someone like a Malachi Corley is.
Yeah. Oh, he looks like somebody that they're planning on having some type of role with this team. The one thing he does is, if they someone once said, well, we're going to be a running team. What if they put 8 men in the box? It's a good question. It's a good point. What do you do if they put 8 men in the box? Well, you have to make them pay, right? You have to, you put 8 men in the box. We're going to take advantage of that. What a perfect way. What if the strategy is 8 men in the box and we're going to double cover Garrett? Okay, so that's 10 guys. You have 1 guy left. You line up Aaron, Smith on the other side. You're really going to roll with 1 guy on him, knowing his speed? Right? I mean, you put 8 in the box and you give me one-on-one on that kid, and I'm just having him do a post and throwing it to him all day because he's going to create space. Like, no one's keeping up with him.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And if you connect on a couple of them, right, with him deep down the field, he's a big play waiting to happen. And, especially in year 1, I don't know if we're going to see him come out and put up 50 catches and 750 yards or something like that in year 1, but that doesn't have to be his role right now. I think, as you said, clearing out space, take a couple of those shots, maybe a hit on, he has 2 long touchdowns or something like that this year, and serve a purpose. And that's how I view Arian Smith's role on this team, at least in 2025. Beyond that, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, he'll definitely keep the defense honest. You have to have a safety stay back. And that's true with any guy. You got a guy who runs a 4-3, you have to have a safety back. You have to. If you don't, and I see it's funny, Billy saying, can he catch the ball? Even when he had 10 drops last year in college, he caught the ball. He had a lot of receptions also. It's too many drops. There was 5 too many drops throughout the season. No question about it. 4 of the 5 drops would have been okay. 10 was not acceptable, right? He has to improve on that number. But he also had a lot of receptions. He can catch. He's been catching all camp long. Yeah, he had a drop the other day, but he also had a really good play the other day. That's part of a young guy developing, right? But you know what's going to happen with this kid his whole career? Every time he drops a football, it's going to be a magnifying glass. But yet every wide receiver in the NFL drops a football sometimes. So let's just look at the final product. Let's look at how many times he was throwing the ball. And as long as his stats are normal to better, let's leave the kid alone. But he's not going to be perfect. There are going to be drops, just like any player might drop the football.
I'm with you. We got to put Borgata's got to go in the hole for a few minutes.
What did
he said the Jets traded for Alec Pierce, which is not true. So timeout for Borgata on that one. You got to think about what you did. Stand in the corner for 5 minutes and then you come back. But yes, we have been talking about the trade a little bit that the Jets have made for Jowon Briggs. We view him as an early down run stopping guy. He was a 7th round pick. The Jets traded a 6th rounder, get Briggs and a 7th round back. So it's you're essentially just moving down, spots in the draft order towards the end. And I forget who said it. It might've been Nick Shine. You're hoping to find guys like that in the 6th, 7th round anyway.
You know what his nickname is?
What's that?
The Lethal Weapon.
Is it?
I think Mel Gibson's name in the movie, I think his character's name was Briggs.
I like it then.
Maybe Riggs. Briggs or Riggs. I'm not sure. It may have been Briggs. If it's the same, I'm beating Frankie from Flatbush to the punch. If the name of Mel Gibson's character in Lethal Weapon was Briggs, then this guy is the Lethal Weapon. That's his nickname. I'm making that official right now. Stamp it.
Yep, stamp it on there. Jets Chaos had it first.
Oh, it was Riggs. I'm wrong. Calzone said I'm wrong. It's Riggs.
Jeremy getting the name wrong. I don't buy that for a second. That doesn't seem.
Hey, I was close, man. I haven't seen Lethal Weapon in over 20 years. That was close.
I'm going to give you credit on that one. That was pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So getting back to our combo, you just gave Malachi Corley. I gave Derek Nadi. On the positive side, someone like Skinner, I didn't really have any expectation for. Coming into camp. He had the unbelievable touchdown catch in the most recent game, but that's even someone who I think has shown more than a Malachi Corley. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to sit here and say he's for sure making the 53, but I think he has a decent chance to make the roster going into the last week of the season.
Yeah, look, I mean, Skinner has some appeal. There's a story to this kid, and we overrate if you put them on the practice squad, they're going to get scooped up. Like, we're a little bit like every team thinks that about their roster. Oh, these 3 or 4 guys, we can't put them on the practice squad. They're going to get scooped up. But everyone has their own roster problems, so it's not that easy to just scoop guys up. Like, it doesn't happen that so many guys don't get scooped up when we're so afraid that they're going to. There's a good, I don't know if he's going to make the roster. I think we're going to stash him on the practice squad. But again, if they do that, I might be overrating it, but I just think there's a chance he's going to get scooped up because I think that there's, like even his tape from college, like he's like, and the little bit of that we're seeing him, it looks like he's able to adapt to the NFL game. I know he's not playing against the ones yet, and that's going to be the big knock on it. They're going to say, yeah, but he hasn't done it against the ones. We can only go by what we're seeing, like how it looks to us. But he's been a pleasant surprise, I think, for sure.
No, he absolutely has. And, I kind of loop him in with like the Brandon Smiths of the world, of guys who, probably closer to practice squad players, but have played well in camp. And, especially when I think special teams roles, that's a good opportunity for some of these guys who are fringe roster players to make the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And there are guys like that every year. And then every year, first of all, we all do our roster predictions, right? And there's always, and I think that Kyle Clifton.
Yeah.
Kyle Clifton said it really well. I love the term he used. He said roster gymnastics. Okay. And that's the thing that makes us never be able to predict the 53-man roster, because there's always these weird roster gymnastics and rules we never knew about. Oh, we technically were able to put this guy and shift him into this IR untouchable status for 2 weeks while this guy does this. You know what I mean? And then we always seem to have more guys than we thought we were allowed to have. So we don't know who's going to, like in the beginning of the season, who they're going to put on the IR. They always, like, if the guy has a little a hanged toenail, they put him on the IR. So there's this roster gymnastics that's going to go on also that might make room for guys we think there's no room for. Like, one of them has to get cut. Not always true. Because as soon as they start the season, the injuries happen. There are going to be guys, every team has guys on the IR, and then you start doing that roster gymnastics, right, where there's more spots for people.
Yeah, I think, and that's a good call out. We're probably going to see some of those roster gymnastics like moves. I wouldn't be surprised if Allen Lazard and or Xavier Gibson start the year on like the 4-week short-term IR. Because it's been a little bit since we've seen them now. And while, maybe you do want to cut Lazard at one point, if you're doing it now, can you not picture him just running right to Pittsburgh and spilling his guts in the next 2 weeks before they play?
I know. It's like he knows everything about our game plan, that we cannot let him go before that Pittsburgh game. Like, if there's a chance that Lazard's going to be let go or traded or anything, it cannot happen before that Pittsburgh game. It just can't.
Yeah. Funny call out from Dano here. It says, remember when people thought it was brilliant to incubate Lakey Fotu last year and he was going to be great week 5 on? He always stunk. That was one of those Jets that we're going to look back 10 years from now and go, oh my God, I totally forgot that guy existed, because he was supposed to be the run stopping replacement for Al Woods. Al Woods was at the end of his career, but he was pretty good for the Jets 2 years ago. Fotu did nothing. How many snaps do we think Lakey Fotu played last year?
I don't know. Unfortunately, Fotu was very leaky. Or lucky.
He was very leaky. He played a grand total of 22 snaps.
Wow. Terrible.
They got nothing out of him, unfortunately. That was a tough one. Injuries stink, but it's not like he really did much either in the years before that.
I'm talking about anything last year. is so traumatic because my stomach tightens up. Anytime we think about, I can't even go there the last 4 years.
I know.
I can't even go there anymore. It's just like so much pain.
This is usually a good way to tell if it was a good move or not that your team just made. Ryan Zappardi says the Browns fans don't seem pleased that he was gone. I think for Cleveland, it's about like they have a ton of interior defensive linemen. Playing time probably an issue there. And then plus on top of that too, like he was a 7th round pick. So they don't expect him to start, and they probably just don't have the rotational reps in place.
Yeah. And it wouldn't shock me if they were building up as many picks, improving their draft position, like picks, like, oh, it's a 6th rounder. We can take our 2 6s and maybe swap for a 5th, and then we can take our 2 5ths, like trying to get as much draft capital as they possibly can, because I don't think they found their quarterback. So, look at them as a possible contender next year for us when we're going for our quarterback. Like, look, it's not just Pittsburgh. Cleveland might be trying to ramp up their bag of, draft capital so they can make a move too.
That's true. That's a good call out. Isaiah McDonald thinks they're trading Lazard, a 4th or a 3rd. That would be shocking to me if they were actually able to flip Lazard for picks at this point. I don't think that's the route that this goes. I know I was joking about, cutting him and him ending up in Pittsburgh, but he probably just plays out this year on the contract that he redid.
A 3rd, man, I would take that in a heartbeat.
I would call that in so fast. I would think that's a mistake, right?
3rd round pick. Oh yeah. I would be so happy. We just got AZ Thomas with a 3rd round pick. If you want to put perspective on, what you can get, we could have gotten Royals with our 3rd round pick. I mean, I love Thomas. I'm not complaining, but if we would have had an extra 3rd, we could have gotten Royals too. We could have gotten Royals with our 4th. I'll never understand that was your guy. Not picking that guy, but we'll see if he does anything. I heard he's having an okay camp, so we'll find out.
Okay. Just wanted to keep looking here through the chat. This one from Zach made me laugh. Should we pick up any players from the 40U league in Atlanta? Have you seen any of the videos on the internet from this league, Jeremy?
No.
It's very funny. When you have time after the show, I recommend Googling it. They're running around, they're playing hard, but guys are getting crushed. And poor guy's like 37 years old and is going to work at UPS the next day, but just got creamed in a 40U football league in Atlanta. The videos are really good, so that made me laugh. I wanted to pull that up.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't think Lazard is as bad as most Jet fans. I'm not defending and saying Lazard has anything to do with our future as a team. I'm not sitting there saying I'm going to cry over. So when I say run to the phone and get that deal in for 3rd round pick, that's not even a knock on Lazard. That's just a 3rd round pick, for a team that really isn't winning a championship this year. We get another pick in our bag for next year, a year that we're going to need to take a quarterback most likely, and we're going to need as much draft capital as possible to possibly position ourselves better. I mean, it's just such a no-brainer. It's nothing against Lazard. There's plenty of guys I would part with for a 3rd round pick, specifically guys that aren't going to be here after next year anyway.
Yeah, right. That's the thing, especially with Lazard. He's not going to be here next year. He redid his contract, so it's just all in this year. If you can get something for him, great, especially because we've talked a bunch about, too. He's kind of redundant to what Josh Reynolds is going to be in this offense.
Yeah. But it's kind of exaggerated, like the hate against him. I don't understand. Were people watching last year? Take away the injury, he wasn't that bad. I don't know why people aren't seeing that. He had a bunch of touchdown receptions. He wasn't that bad. Yeah,
the early in the year, he was good. He had 2 touchdowns in week 1. No, didn't he get both touchdowns?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, 2 years ago he really struggled. I mean, there was like Nick Shine said, it was so funny. There was a game where he was literally a terrorist, with a bomb, and was blowing up our game. It was so bad. The penalty, he did some pass interference, a drop. He sunk us single-handedly. It was such a bad game. And I think most people have not recovered from that.
No. The drop rate is not good, and it wasn't good. It was almost just as bad, but he at least gave you more production, so you dealt with it a little bit more than you were, at that time.
Yeah, and the truth is, aside from the fact that we've kind of exaggerated, and I think it's exaggerated how bad of a receiver he is. He's a very good blocker, and I think that it does matter when you're a team that's clearly going to be a running team. Clearly, that's your identity. And you have a wide receiver that is a big target, could be a red zone guy, has made big touchdown pass receptions for us, and is such a good blocker that he could block, as like a real legitimate blocker. He's like almost like tight end level blocking. He's really good and effective. Like, he's just a good fit for our roster right now.
Borgata Boss is back from his timeout. He says, what about Jacoby Meyers from the Raiders? This is one that I think makes sense. I know he's a little bit older. He'll be 29 this year, but he has just been consistently solid essentially his entire career. The first, few years in New England, then he goes to the Raiders. He had over 1,000 yards last year.
I laugh at this because my wife, every time she came into the room and she heard the announcers say that, and she thinks Jacoby and Myers, like whatever the commercials. Yeah. So she's like, so I always laugh when I hear that name. She came in, she goes, "That's the owner of the," But yeah, like, look, I mean, the Raiders would want a lot for him, right?
Potentially.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if he's gettable for what we're probably willing to pay.
Yeah, he's their essentially would be their number one guy. They did take Jack Besh, who was my dude in this most recent draft, but I don't think he's I don't think he's gonna be a wide receiver one, especially out of the gate. I would be surprised if they moved off of Jacoby Meyers. But if the price is right, like that's the style of wide receiver I'm looking for. I think he's due to make like $10.5 million this year. Like that's kind of the range that I'm looking for.
Oh, they'll never get off of that. Like, if that's true, I mean, he's like, they just got Geno Smith. They drafted this running back. They want to win right now. Pete Carroll, he's not joking around. He's not going to give away his weapons. He's not going to put himself in a position where he has no chance to, this year. And you're right. There's a very good chance that Besh will be a very good wide receiver. I loved him. Loved him, especially at the Senior Bowl. We fell in love with that guy. But he's a rookie. You're not going to go in with your rookie, as your WR1, right?
No, definitely not. And that's what Zach is saying here. He's wide receiver one right now on the Raiders. It would be very surprising if they just decided to move off of him. I get it. They have a couple tight ends who are pretty good. Jack Besh. They have they drafted the running back. But Geno likes to throw the ball down the field, and I think Jacoby Meyers is a good fit for that.
Yeah, it's not likely. By the way, how funny was it when Aaron Glenn said, "No, we're not trading Breece"? I felt so vindicated because I was so afraid to do it. Like, I hold back on it because like behind the scenes, guys, I tell O'Leary, it's so stupid. Why would we trade Breece? We need weapons. We have no one to throw the ball to, and you're going to throw away the best pass receiving running back maybe in the NFL. That makes no sense. And then, I'm on air. I don't want to, because if I'm wrong and he gets traded, then you're the biggest idiot alive. So I kind of held back on it. But when Aaron Glenn said that, boy, did I get a laugh out of that.
No, I did as well, because I was watching it live. Usually I just wait till the clips come out and I take a look at that or go back and watch, but I happened to be around and turned it on live. And he was talking Braylon Allen, and he's like, honestly, we have three backs that we like. And he's like, and no, that doesn't mean I'm trading Breece. I thought it was a great answer, especially too, because I was talking with Connor Rogers about this earlier in the week, and we were both kind of in the camp of, he's probably going to be second or third on the team in catches this year. They can't afford to move off of him.
Yeah, that's it's too important as a receiver. So, and the other thing was what are you going to get for him? And then when people would say, well, maybe you can get this or that. And like anybody who said we're going to get something really good for him, what team is going to trade like a second round pick or a first, or like anything really valuable? Or people were saying, a good defensive tackle. What team's going to do that for a running back who you only get as a 1-year rental until then? Now you have to pay him a contract. Like who's looking to trade for him? Like it just doesn't make any sense. Those the Niners have a need for a running back, but how much are they going to give for a Breece Hall? Where's the production that would make the Niners say we're going to give you anything that any Jet fan would want to, that would feel is worth taking for him?
Yeah, that would be pretty shocking, right? Like
for those are saying, what is he talking about? Why the Niners? The Niners are very banged up at running back. I know McCaffrey exists, but they're very banged up at the position.
Right. I don't think there's a good fit. But, at the deadline, maybe that's a different conversation if the Jets, because like John says, if the Jets are 3-7 at the deadline, Breece is gone. Well, yeah, then that's a different conversation that we can get to at the end of October.
Then you're just taking what you can get, right? Because who cares? We're 3-7, so you're scraping up whatever you can get for anything. Let's build up as much because if we're let's assume if we're 3-7, Justin Fields, that's it. Right? Like, let's say it's official now, right? Like 3-7 probably means he's not the guy. We know that now. Most of us feel that way already. I know, but like the final stamp on that is done. No question. We're in the quarterback race in 26 if we're 3-7. So now you're looking to get anything you can get for anyone that's not part of the future, right? As much draft capital as you can possibly accumulate, because there was going to be a dogfight for some of these quarterbacks next year in next year's draft. There's going to be trade-ups. There's going to be activity because it's going to be a dogfight. There are some very special quarterbacks coming out this year. It's a big year that a lot of teams have been waiting for. And it's going to be it's going to get hot, and we're going to be part of this. I'm pretty sure we're going to be a team looking for a quarterback next year.
I agree. I'm with you there. Let's close with this one. Jeremy Ray says, who do you think will be our QB2 now that our backup Tyrod Taylor is on IR? Are you team Adrian Martinez or Brady Cook? What are you thinking here?
I think Brady Cook goes on the practice squad and Martinez is the backup quarterback, just based on experience and based on fitting the profile of how our offense is designed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be one. I think they could get either guy to the practice squad, but Brady Cook to the practice squad and Adrian Martinez as the backup would be my guess as of now, because you mentioned it, the experience, right? Like he has that a little bit, but hopefully Tyrod is ready closer to the start of the season, like Aaron Glenn was anticipating.
Yeah. And that being said, I like Cook a lot as a development, guy. Like, and I'm not saying, I think he's going to be a star quarterback, but I think there's a real solid chance that Brady Cook could be a career backup quarterback who's capable of coming into a game and doing things. And, like that, like a quarterback you don't mind having as your backup quarterback.
Absolutely. So guys, that'll do it for us on this hour of Jets talk here on Matt O'Leary NY. We'll be back next Wednesday breaking down probably some roster decisions, Jeremy. I think next Tuesday, we're going to see a lot of roster decisions get made. So I think we'll be talking about the new look 53 next week.
That's going to be so much fun. And I can't wait for the roster gymnastics. I can't wait because that's always going to change things around so much and flip things that we didn't expect. It's a lot of fun, and I'll be here for it.
He's Chaos. I'm Matt O'Leary, and we'll catch you next time.